I stood on the porch, cupcakes weighing down my hands, staring at the black windows of our house. The silence hit me hardery, like the place had been gutted and left to rot. No hum of life, just the faint buzz of a street lamp flickering down the block. I shifted the box, its heft digging into my palms, a stupid reminder of what tonight was supposed to be. 1 year in this place. Lana's favorite velvet cream cheese frosting sat inside, mocking me. I'd pictured us laughing, splitting one over cheap wine. Now the cold bit at my knuckles and I felt like a damn fool. The suburban night closed in, sharp and raw. My breath puffed out, visible under the porch light, each exhale a jab of irritation. Where was she? She texted about a movie with French hours ago. I yanked my phone from my pocket. Nothing. No calls, no half-assed excuses, just a blank screen staring back. I jammed the key in the lock, shoved the door open, and flipped the lights on. The living room blinked to life or sagging couch, coffee table buried under magazines, the ghost of last night's takeout hanging in the air. Too quiet, too still. I dumped the cupcakes on the counter and dropped into my armchair. The leather groaned, familiar under me. This was my spot, my anchor after long days, beer in hand, while Lana messed with her flowers or scrolled TikTok. Tonight it felt like the only thing that hadn't ditched me. Time crawled. I topped the armrest, nails clicking, trying to shove down the twist in my gut. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she forgot. Bullshit. She'd been off lately sharp-edged, picking fights over nothing. My chewing. My sprawl on the couch. You're giving me the ick, Kit. She'd toss out, smirking like it was cute. It wasn't. Clock read 9:57. She should have been here. I fired off a text, hey, where you at? Got cupcakes for our thing. Sent. Waited. Nothing. The room felt colder, the quiet heavier. I paced, boots thumping the hardwood, eyes flicking to those untouched cupcakes' bright frosting, screaming against the dread snaking up my back. Then a click. The front door. My pulse kicked up. Lana? I stepped into the hall. The door creaked wide, and there she was, outlined in the porch glow. She moved inside, face shadowed, and for a split second, I swore she smiled. Then she got closer, and her jaw tightened. You're home, she said, voice flat as asphalt. Yeah. I forced a grin, thumb jabbing toward the kitchen. Got cupcakes. Thought we'd celebrate. Her eyes slid to the box, then back to me, cold as the night outside. Thanks, she muttered, brushing past. I frowned, stomach knotting tighter. You okay? She hit the fridge, snatched a water, and chugged half of it. Silence stretched, thick enough to choke on. Lana, what's up? My tone sharpened, unintended. She turned, gaze like ice. Nothing, Kit. Just tired. But it wasn't nothing. The air buzzed with it, something broken, hanging between us. This house, our house, didn't feel like ours anymore. What the hell had I walked into? A week before our anniversary, I came home to find Lana sprawled on the couch, scrolling TikTok again. Her feet were propped on the coffee table, surrounded by a mess crumpled magazines, my empty beer cans, takeout boxes piled up like a greasy shrine to our apathy. The television blared a reality show we didn't care about, just noise drowning out the silence between us. I dropped my keys on the counter, the sound lost in the chaos. Hey, I said, aiming for casual. Want to grab dinner? I'm starving. She didn't look up. Nah, not hungry. I frowned, shrugging off my jacket. You ate already? Mm-hmm. Her thumb flicked the screen, eyes locked on whatever trend was trending. I sank into the armchair, leather creaking under me. You've been on that thing all day, huh? She glanced up, brows arched. So? I grabbed the remote, muting the television. Just saying. You used to hate it when I zoned out on my phone. She snorted, sharp and dismissive. Yeah, well, things change. The air thickened, heavy with something unspoken. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Kit. She tossed her phone on the table, the clatter jarring. God, you're so sensitive. Sensitive? I laughed, but it sounded rough. You've been picking fights over nothing lately. Her eyes narrowed. Oh, it's nothing? Like how you chew with your mouth open, or sprawl on the couch like a slob? I clenched my jaw. You used to laugh about that. Call it cute. It's not cute anymore. She stood, snatching her phone again. It's gross. Gross? I shot up, heat rising in my chest. What the hell, Lana? You're acting like I'm some stranger you can't stand. She crossed her arms, chin jutting out. Maybe you are. Ever think of that? Her words hit like a slap. I stared, mouth half open, but no sound came out. She'd always been blunt, but this was colder, sharper like she'd already walked away in her head. I swallowed hard, steadying my voice. What's going on with you? You've been off for weeks. She rolled her eyes, heading for the kitchen. You're imagining things. Am I? I followed, boots thudding on the hardwood. You barely talk to me. You're always out with friends. I air quoted it, couldn't stop myself. She whirled around, eyes flashing. Oh, so I can't have friends now? You're gonna police that too? Police? I threw my hands up. I'm not policing anything. I just want to know why my wife acts like she hates me. Maybe because I can't stand you. She snapped, then froze, lips pressing tight like she'd let it slip. The silence after was deafening. My chest tightened, breath stuck. What did you just say? She looked away, jaw locked. Nothing, forget it. No, say it again. My voice dropped hard. You can't stand me? She didn't answer, just grabbed a glass from the cabinet, filled it with water, and kept her back to me. Lana, look at me. I stepped closer, fists clenched. She sipped her water, slow and deliberate, ignoring me. Fine. I turned, stormed back to the living room and grabbed my jacket. I'm going out. Where? She called, but I was already at the door. Anywhere but here, I muttered, slamming it shut. The night air hit me hard, cold and biting. I shoved my hands in my pockets and stalked to my truck. I climbed in, slammed the door, and sat there, staring at the dashboard. The engine stayed off, the quiet pressing in. What was happening to us? We'd fought before, every couple does, but this was different. Like she was drifting away, and I didn't know how to reel her back, or if I even could. I leaned my head against the steering wheel, the leather cool on my skin. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe she was just tired. But no, this wasn't exhaustion. Something had shifted, and I'd been too stubborn to see it. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out, hoping it was her. It wasn't just a dumb app notification. I tossed it aside and started the engine. I drove with no destination, the streets slipping by in a blur. The suburbs were still, all neat and pretending everything was fine. But not us. Not our house. I ended up at a diner, the kind with sticky seats and burnt coffee. I slid into a booth, ordered a burger I didn't want, and stared out the window. Was it the mortgage? My job? Or, God forbid, someone else? The thought gnawed at me, sharp and sickening. She wouldn't, would she? I pushed the plate away, appetite gone. I had to confront her, really confront her. But not tonight. Tonight I'd crash in the guest room. Tomorrow I'd figure it out. If there was anything left to figure. I sank into my armchair, the leather creaking beneath me like a tired exhale. The cupcakes rested on the coffee table, their frosting catching the lamplight in soft, glossy peaks. Waiting. I'd been waiting for an hour, the silence thick and heavy, pressing against me like the darkness outside. My phone sat lifeless on the armrest, no texts, no calls. Just me, the relentless ticking of the clock, and a gnawing knot twisting tighter in my stomach. The inner key scratched against the lock. The front door swung open, and Lana stepped inside, her face briefly illuminated by the yellow glow of the porch light. For a fleeting moment, she looked almost happy, her lips curving upward. But when her eyes landed on me, that smile vanished, wiped away like chalk in the rain. She shut the door behind her, slow and deliberate, as if she were locking something in or keeping something out. Hey, I said, rising to my feet. Got cupcakes. Thought we'd celebrate our anniversary. Her gaze flicked to the box, then back to me, her expression flat and unreadable. Thanks, she mumbled, brushing past me toward the kitchen. I frowned, following her. You okay? She yanked open the fridge, grabbed a water bottle, and chugged half of it in one go, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. Fine. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. You don't seem fine. She slammed the bottle down, the sharp thud cutting through the air. God, Kit, can you not? Not what? I snapped, heat flaring in my chest. Care? Ask if you're okay? She rolled her eyes and shoved past me again, her shoulder clipping mine. You're suffocating me. Suffocating? I trailed her back into the living room, my boots thudding against the hardwood floor. I'm suffocating you? I've barely seen you all week. She spun around, her eyes blazing with sudden fire. Maybe that's the point. Maybe I don't want to see you. Her words landed like a fist to my ribs. I froze, my mouth hanging half open. What the hell does that mean? It means I'm done, Kit. She threw her hands up, her voice cracking under the strain. I can't stand being around you anymore. You're chewing, you're sprawl, you're everything. It's disgusting. Disgusting? I let out a laugh, but it was rough, edged with bitterness. You used to laugh about that stuff. Now it's disgusting? Yeah. Well, people change. She crossed her arms, her chin jutting out defiantly. Or maybe I just see you for what you are now. And what's that? My voice dropped, low and taut, barely masking the anger simmering beneath. She didn't respond, just stared at me, her jaw clenched tight. Say it, I growled, taking a step closer. Say what you think I am. She looked away, her lips pressed into a thin, stubborn line. Just leave, Kit. Go stay with Mike or something. Leave? I blinked, the word hitting me like a slap. This is my house too. No, it's not. Her eyes snapped back to mine, cold and unyielding. It's in my name, remember? My stomach plummeted. She was right, the title was hers. I'd been too broke to qualify for the loan when we bought the place, so she'd signed the papers. But I'd paid for it all, the mortgage, the utilities, every damn repair. You're kicking me out? Over what? Some stupid fight? It's not stupid, she screamed, her voice splintering. I hate you, Kit. I hate everything about you. The words crashed into me, stealing the air from my lungs. Hate. She hated me. I stood there, fists balled at my sides, struggling to make sense of it. You don't mean that. I do. She stepped forward and shoved me hard in the chest. Get out. Now. I stumbled back, more stunned than off balance. Lana, wait. No. She shoved again, her hands slamming into me with surprising force. Get out. I grabbed her wrists, holding them gently but firmly. Stop it, let's talk. She wrenched free, her eyes wild and frantic. There's nothing to talk about. I want you gone. She lunged at me again, pushing me toward the door. I tried to sidestep her, but she was relentless, her nails digging into my arm. Lana, calm down. Get out, she screeched, her voice raw and ragged. I tripped into the hallway, my boot slipping on the rug. She snatched my jacket from the hook and hurled it at me. Take your crap and go. I caught it, my heart hammering in my chest. This is insane. You can't just... I can! She shoved me again, and this time my shoulder crashed into the doorframe. It's my house! My name! Get out! I stared at her, breathing hard. Her face was flushed, her eyes wide with fury or maybe fear. I couldn't tell anymore. Fine, I spat, yanking the door open. I'll go, but this isn't over. She slammed the door shut behind me, the lock clicking with a final, deafening snap. I stood on the porch, clutching my jacket, the cold night air stinging my skin. My truck sat in the driveway, its headlights glinting like silent witnesses to my unraveling life. I trudged to it, climbed inside, and slammed the door. The engine roared to life, but I didn't move. I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Hate. She hated me. 3 years, a home, dreams of a family gone in a single night. I slammed my fist into the dashboard, pain exploding through my hand. Damn it, the shout echoed in the cab, swallowed by the darkness. I needed a plan. Mike's place was an option, but I didn't want to dump this on him. My parents' farm was an hour away too far for tonight. A motel then. I'd figure out the rest tomorrow. Pulling out of the driveway, I watched the house shrink in the rearview mirror. Something felt wrong beyond the fight, beyond her sudden contempt. My phone buzzed Mike, asking if I wanted a beer. I ignored it. Not tonight. I drove to the edge of town, found a rundown motel with a flickering neon sign. The clerk barely glanced at me as I paid for a room. Inside, the bed sagged. The air reeked of stale smoke, but it was quiet. I collapsed onto the mattress, staring at the cracked ceiling. What had I missed? When did we go from planning a future to her throwing me out? Was it money? My job? Or God help me someone else? The thought clawed at my gut, sharp and nauseating. She wouldn't. Would she? I rolled over, pressing my face into the pillow. Tomorrow, I'd go back, force her to explain. But tonight, I just needed sleep if I could find it. I pulled up to the house, the brownies warm in my lap, their chocolate scent filling the truck. A peace offering, maybe a dumb one, but I'd spent a week at Mike's cooling off, thinking things over. Maybe Lana had too. Maybe we could talk, patch up whatever had broken between us. The front door was ajar, a thin stripe of light spilling onto the porch. Weird. Lana always locked it, even when she was home. Then I heard it laughter drifting out, hers first, bright and loose, followed by a deeper, unfamiliar chuckle. My stomach twisted. I cut the engine and stepped out, boots crunching on the gravel. The laughter got louder as I walked up, a tight knot forming in my gut. I nudged the door open, hinges squeaking. The living room was dim, lit only by the television flickering blue and white across the walls. And there, sprawled on my armchair, my damn spot were Lana and some guy, her legs slung over his lap, his arm wrapped around her shoulders. Their laughter choked off as they turned to me, eyes popping wide like I'd caught them mid-heist. I froze. Couldn't breathe. The brownie slipped from my hands, smacking the floor with a soft thud. What the hell is this? My voice came out low, gravelly, like it belonged to someone else. Lana bolted upright, tugging her shirt straight. Kit, what are you doing here? What am I doing here? I took a step forward, fists balling up. This is my house. Who's this clown? The guy stood, tall and cocky, a smirk curling his lips. I'm Arthur. You must be the ex. Ex? I barked a laugh, sharp and sour. We're still married, jackass. Kit, stop it, Lana snapped, sliding between us. You need to leave. Leave? I stared at her, the word echoing in my skull. You're screwing around in our house, and I'm the one who has to leave? She crossed her arms, chin jutting out. It's my house. My name's on the deed. Your name, my money, I fired back. I paid for every stick of furniture in here. Arthur chuckled, leaning against the armchair like he was posing for a photo. Sounds like a you problem, buddy. Shut up, I growled, stepping toward him. You don't get to talk. Kit, don't, Lana said, her voice tight. Just go. I ignored her, glaring at Arthur. How long? How long has this been going on? He shrugged, cool as ice. A year, give or take. A year? It hit me like a brick. A whole year. While I was busting ass paying bills thinking we were solid, you've been sleeping with my wife for a year? Ex-wife, he said, that smirk widening. She's not my ex, I roared, lunging at him. Lana grabbed my arm, yanking me back. Stop it, she hissed. You're making it worse. Worse? I tore free, rounding on her. You're cheating on me, and I'm making it worse? What's wrong with you? Her eyes narrowed, cold as steel. You, Kit. You're what's wrong. Your gross habits, your laziness, everything. I couldn't stand it anymore. Gross habits? I blinked, stunned. You're torching our marriage over how I chew? It's not just that. She threw her hands up. It's all of it. You're suffocating. I needed space, and Arthur, he gets me. Gets you? I laughed, hollow and bitter. He's using you, Lana, you blind? Arthur snorted. Projecting much? I ignored him, locking onto her. 3 years? You're throwing away 3 years for this guy? She looked away, jaw tight. It's already gone, Kit. We're done. The words slammed into me. Done. You don't mean that. I do. She stepped closer, voice low and hard. I want a divorce. My chest squeezed, air stuck in my throat. You're serious. Dead serious. Her eyes didn't waver. Sign the papers when they come. Don't drag this out. I searched her face for the woman I'd married, but she was gone, replaced by this stranger with ice in her stare. You're making a mistake, I muttered, backing toward the door. The mistake was staying with you. she shot back. Arthur slid an arm around her, pulling her close. Time to go, buddy. I wanted to deck him. Wanted to scream, smash something. But I did it. I turned, grabbed the doorknob, and stepped outside. The door clicked shut behind me, quiet but final. The night air stung my face. My truck sat in the driveway, but I couldn't move. Their laughter started again inside, faint but clear. They didn't care. They'd already moved on. Something shifted in me then, not just rage, but something colder, sharper. They thought they'd humiliated me and won. They were wrong. I'd make them pay. Both of them. I climbed into the truck, slammed the door, and gripped the wheel until my knuckles went white. The engine growled awake, and I peeled out, tires screeching. I didn't look back. The engine hummed as I pulled up a block from the house, the duffel bag in the back seat buzzing faintly with the restless roaches inside. The street lay silent, draped in that pristine suburban calm that felt almost mocking given what I was about to unleash. I cut the ignition and sat there, staring at the house ahead. Our house, or so it had been, until Lana declared it hers. Fine. She could keep it, along with everything I was bringing tonight. I grabbed the bag, the coarse fabric rough against my palm, and stepped out. The night air brushed cool against my face, a sharp contrast to the heat simmering in my chest. My boots crunched on the gravel driveway as I approached, each step slow, deliberate, savoring the buildup. The front door loomed ahead, and I tested the knob locked. She'd finally learned something. I fished my key from my pocket, the one she'd never thought to demand back, and slid it into the lock. The click echoed in the stillness as I pushed the door open. The living room greeted me with shadows, dark except for a thin stripe of light spilling from the kitchen. Voices floated out Lana's high, lilting laugh, Arthur's deeper rumble. My stomach twisted, a sour knot tightening. I set the duffel bag down beside the couch, unzipped it just enough to let a handful of roaches spill out. Their tiny legs tapped against the hardwood as they scattered, vanishing into the gloom. A tight, grim smile pulled at my mouth. This was only the opening act. I straightened, squaring my shoulders, and marched toward the kitchen. My footsteps thudded, loud enough to announce me, and the voices cut off mid-sentence. I rounded the corner, and there they were. Lana and Arthur propped against the counter, wine glasses glinting in their hands. Lana's eyes flared wide, her lips parting. Kit, what are you doing here? I held up the divorce papers clenched in my fist like a weapon. Brought these. Thought we'd wrap this up tonight. Arthur stepped forward, shoulders squared, his chest puffed out like some wannabe tough guy. You're not welcome here, man. Get out. I didn't even glance at him, my gaze locked on Lana. Sign them. Let's finish this. She crossed her arms, her jaw tightening. I'm not signing anything until my lawyer sees it. A laugh ripped out of me, sharp and jagged. Your lawyer? You can't even cover the mortgage without me footing the bill. Her cheeks flushed, a hot red creeping up her neck. That's not your problem anymore. Isn't it? I flung the papers onto the counter, the roll unfurling slightly. You wanted this, so sign them, or I'll make it ugly. Arthur snatched the papers, his eyes skimming the text. What's this damages for cheating? You're out of your mind. Am I? I took a step closer, my voice dropping low, lethal. You've been screwing my wife for a year. That's not crazy, that's just true. He smirked, leaning back like he'd already won. Prove it. Oh, I will. I flicked my eyes to Lana. Unless you want to save us the hassle and sign now. She shook her head, lips pressed into a thin line. I'm not giving you a damn thing. Fine, I shrugged, turning on my heel. Guess we do this the fun way. I strode back to the living room, grabbed the duffel bag by its straps, and hauled it into the kitchen. They watched, brows furrowed, as I dropped it onto the tiles with a thud and yanked the zipper wide open. The roaches erupted out, a wriggling, glistening tide of black spreading across the floor. Lana's scream pierced the air as she scrambled onto a chair, her wine glass crashing to the ground. What the hell, Kit? Arthur lurched back, wine sloshing onto his pristine shirt. Are you insane? I grinned, the expression feral, untamed. You called me disgusting. Thought I'd live up to it. The roaches surged in every direction, skittering up the cabinets, darting beneath the fridge, their tiny bodies a chaotic swarm. Lana's shrieks grew shrill, her hands flapping uselessly. "Get them out! Get them out!" I leaned back against the wall, arms crossed, drinking in the pandemonium. Nah, they seem right at home. Kinda like you two. Arthur lunged at me, fists balled, his face twisted with rage. "You're dead, man!" I dodged to the side, whipping a can of bug spray from my jacket pocket. Not today. I squeezed the trigger, blasting a cloud of mist straight into his face. He bellowed, hands clawing at his eyes as he staggered back, slamming into the counter. "Kit, stop!" Lana sobbed, still teetering on the chair, tears carving tracks through her makeup. "Stop?" I sprayed a few more roaches as they skittered by, the hiss of the can punctuating my words. "You wanted me gone. Now you've got it plus a few thousand new friends." She choked on a sob, mascara streaking black rivers down her face. "Please, just make it stop." I shook my head, backing toward the doorway. "You picked this, Lana. Enjoy it." Her cries chased me as I turned and walked out, Arthur's muffled curses blending into the noise. The night air hit me like a cleanse, crisp and sharp, washing away the stench of wine and betrayal. I climbed into my truck, tossed the empty spray can onto the passenger seat, and fired up the engine. The house dwindled in the rearview mirror as I pulled away, its lights shrinking to pinpricks. A weight sloughed off my shoulders, heavy and suffocating no more. They'd deal with the mess eventually. Scrub the floors, fumigate the place, curse my name. But I'd done it. I'd taken back the one thing they'd stripped from me. Control. I didn't look back. Not once. The night air streamed through the rolled-down window as I drove, sharp and cool against my skin, laced with the earthy tang of wet soil and far-off pine. The road unfurled before me, a dark thread slicing through rolling fields, guiding me back to the one place that still held the shape of homey parents' farm. I'd been away too long, tangled up in Lana, the house, the life I'd convinced myself I needed. Now, with the wreckage in my rear view, the silence of the open road washed over me, smoothing the jagged edges of my frustration. The headlights flashed across the turnoff of familiar dirt lane and I eased onto it, tires grinding against loose gravel. Ahead, the farmhouse emerged from the shadows, its windows casting a gentle amber glow into the night. I parked beside Dad's weathered pickup, cut the engine, and lingered in the cab, letting the quiet seep in. Crickets thrummed in a steady chorus, their song weaving through the stillness. I climbed out, boots pressing into the yielding earth, and drew a long breath. This place it tethered me, always had. The front door squeaked open, and Mom stepped onto the porch, her figure outlined by the light spilling from the house. "Kit?" Her voice was soft, tentative, but it carried clear across the yard. "Yeah, it's me." I hauled myself up the steps, the old boards creaking beneath me. She folded me into a hug, her arms warm and steady, smelling of lavender and the bread she'd baked earlier. "You okay, sweetheart?" I nodded into her shoulder, not entirely sure I believed it. Better now. She drew back, studying me with those sharp, knowing eyes. "Come in. Your dad's up." I trailed her into the kitchen, where Dad sat at the table, rough hands wrapped around a chipped coffee mug. He glanced up, his lined face softening into a grin. "Took you long enough." I sank into the chair opposite him, the wood scraping loudly against the floor. "Yeah, well, scenic route." He arched a brow but let it slide. "Coffee?" "Please." I watched him pour a stream of black into a mug and push it my way. The first sip burned, bitter and real, rooting me to the moment. Mom slid a plate of biscuits onto the table, her hands fidgeting. "You want to talk about it?" I shook my head, eyes fixed on the coffee's dark surface. Not much to say. "It's over." They shared a look decades of silent conversation packed into a glance. Dad coughed lightly. "You can stay as long as you want. Guest room's set." "Thanks." I sipped again, warmth curling through me. "Actually, I was thinking maybe I'll stay for good. Help out around here." Mom's eyes widened, surprise flashing across her face. "You mean that? The farm?" "Yeah." The thought felt solid, like it had been waiting for me to catch up. "I'm done with the city. Done with All of it. Dad's gaze held mine, steady and searching. It's tough work, Kit. Long hours, no promises. I know. I didn't flinch. But it's real. And it's ours. A slow smile broke across his face. All right, we start tomorrow. Mom reached over, her hand closing around mine. We're glad you're home. Home. The word landed soft but solid. I squeezed her hand back. A spark of something hope, maybe flickering alive. Later in the guest room, I stretched out under a quilt that smelled faintly of hay. The window cracked to let in the night. The house was still, save for the odd groan of old timber. Staring at the ceiling, I traced its cracks by memory. Lana, Arthur, that house they were fading, ghosts of a life I didn't need. This was enough to quiet the land, a clean slate. I shut my eyes, and sleep came easy, dreamless.